Welcome to the Razors Inc. podcast with your host, Jonathan Farini. It seems there's a new reality TV show popping up every week these days. But as we've learned, so-called reality TV shows like Survivor, Big Brother, Naked and Afraid, and so many others are hardly based in reality. However, that's not to say that TV hasn't produced some truly authentic, human, and real moments. So pour yourself a drink, pull up a chair, and hear Jonathan's take on movies, television, and today, real TV. Here's your host, Jonathan Farini.
There's a certain kind of television that doesn't just entertain. It ambushes you. It doesn't rely on stars or elaborate sets or even a script in the traditional sense. It thrives on unpredictability, on human reaction, on that thin line between reality and performance. And when I trace the lineage carefully, I found a fascinating thread from Candid Camera of the early 60s, which I grew up watching, to a syndicated program called Cheaters, to Jackass on MTV, which many of you know. 3 shows, 3 eras, but one radical idea, and that is the public is the content. Let's start at the beginning. It's the 60s. I'm a kid, and I'm watching Candid Camera, which was created by a man named Alan Funt, who is also the host.
A complete answering service, but without a switchboard. Our main purpose in presenting this film is to show you 2 wonderful young ladies. Here they are.
Will you hold on just a minute, please?
Sure. Good night.
Al's Plumbing Service, hello.
Al, please. My sink is running over. I need him right away.
Just a minute. What is your name, please?
My name is Miss Buchanan.
Buchanan?
Yes.
Okay, as soon as he comes in, I'll tell him to call you.
Thank you.
Hello, Omega Office Machines. Can I help you?
Yes. I'd like to check on the order that you have.
Will you hold on just a minute, please? Jamie. Hello? Al's Plumbing?
He first appeared on radio in the late 40s before transitioning to TV in 1948. But it would go on to run in various incarnations across multiple decades, primarily on networks like CBS, but later in syndication, stretching into the early 2000s. It's one of the longest running and most quietly influential programs, I believe, in television history. And that's why I'm recording this podcast, because it's often been overlooked within the annals of television history. Funt himself was the original host and later was joined by figures like his son Peter Funt. The production company was deceptively simple: hidden cameras, ordinary people, and a setup designed to provoke confusion, humor, or mild social discomfort. For instance, elevators that didn't behave correctly, strangers who violated unspoken rules of public content, situations that forced participants to confront their own expectations of normalcy. A lot of the episodes involved hapless people that were brought in by temp agencies. The first day on the job, and they were confronted with all kinds of mayhem. There were some notable stars that appeared in some of these episodes, and I believe one of them was Woody Allen.
I love you, exclamation point. I must have you, 2 exclamation points. You are everything to me, 3 exclamation points. The world revolves around you, question mark.
After revolves around you?
After, yes, please. I adore you and remain, what should I remain?
You're writing the letter.
It's not a funny letter, is it?
I'm sorry, but I just never expected to take a letter like this. It's just...
Is it a funny letter?
It's not funny if that's the way you feel about someone, but I would think that you would sit down and write a letter like this yourself.
Oh, well, I composed it.
Right, but you're not going to typewrite a love letter, are you? Well, what is it?
It is a love letter. I certainly am.
I mean, you're going to type a love letter to someone?
It's an electric typewriter.
That's not the point. What do you mean it's an electric typewriter? That's not personal.
It won multiple Emmy Awards and, more importantly, embedded itself into our cultural DNA. The term "smile, you're on candid camera" became a kind of shorthand for the revelation that reality had been manipulated. But why did it work, Jonathan? Because it tapped into something primal, the authenticity of unscripted human reaction. What more do you want? In a television landscape of polished performances, this was raw. But here's the key. Crucially, it was inexpensive. No stars, minimal crew, no sets, beyond the real world. The public, unknowing, untrained, became both actor and audience. And this is the 60s, early television. By the 1960s, a period which was defined by shifting social norms and a growing skepticism toward institutions. I've talked about the two 1960s before in my podcasts. How in between 1966 and 1967, the 60s turned from "I Want to Hold Your Hands" to acid rock. Candid Camera felt almost subversive. You know, there were episodes where you really did feel empathy for the participants. And actually, you know, at this very moment, I am channeling cruelty, actually. You'll just have to watch it.
Sounds you hate to hear. And we go first to a spa where people get massages. And this woman is waiting for her massage. Listen.
And now to a dentist's office. Listen to this.
Actually, as I channel it and those episodes that I describe as cruel, you could look at Candid Camera almost as a exercise in sadism. That's a strong word, but you just have to watch it for yourself. So let's fast forward a few decades, and the same question takes on a sharper, more confrontational edge with the program Cheaters.
You can feel in your heart when something's not right.
No other woman has made me feel the way she does.
You don't do this to the people that love you.
I can live with the truth, but I can't live with lies.
I'm lost. I feel like I'm by myself. This is not the way we're supposed to end.
I will get to the truth.
I know this isn't easy.
I can't take it anymore.
It premiered in 2000 and was created by a guy named Bobby Goldstein. Cheaters was produced out of Dallas, not Hollywood, and distributed primarily through syndication rather than a single major network. That alone is very telling, folks, because it was designed to be nimble, to exist outside the traditional gatekeeping structures of network television. The premise was simple, almost brutally. Investigate suspected infidelity and confront the accused on camera. It was hosted initially by a guy named Tommy Habib and later by a guy named Joey Greco. And now, I think the great-grandson of Clark Gable.
A massage therapist used to being hands-on, Kelly Torres feels her boyfriend slipping from her grasp. Needing help, Kelly turns to Cheaters, the professional purveyors of truth. I'm Clark Gable, and this is Cheaters.
The show leaned heavily into confrontation, spectacle, and emotional volatility. But, you know, we were voyeurs. We were voyeurs to ugliness, you know, infidelity. What I didn't care for was the program, and it was all economic, I get it. It was, I think, about 95% shot in and around Dallas. I believe there were some episodes where they shot inside Los Angeles, and I think they learned the hard way. I'm just surmising that it was better to say close to home. LA was just too volatile. But if Candid Camera was about playful deception, Cheaters was about exposure, pun intended. Hidden Cameras again played a central role, but the tone shifted dramatically. Instead of benign social experiments, the show utilized betrayal, anger, and public humiliation. The unsuspecting participants weren't just confused, they were furious, and the audience wasn't just laughing, they were judging. So why was this successful? Because it weaponized reality. It turned private transgressions into public theater. And like Candid Camera, it was economically efficient. A van, a small crew, real locations, no need for high-profile talent. You see, the drama was built in. At its peak, Cheaters produced hundreds of episodes, I think well over 300, and remained in production for more than 2 decades, a testament to its endurance. And yet, beneath the surface, the DNA is the same as Candid Camera, the tension between expectation and reality, that power of the unscripted moment, the audience's fascination with how ordinary people behave under pressure. Now, take that formula and push it to its absolute limit. Talk about Jackass. It premiered in 2000 on MTV. It was created by Johnny Knoxville, Jeff Tremaine, and Spike Jonze. But unlike the 2 other shows, the core cast, Knoxville, Steve-O, Bam Margera, were recurring figures. But at the outset, they were largely unknown. What they did, however, was anything but conventional.
My name is Johnny Knoxville, and today I'm going to jump the LA River.
My name is Johnny Knoxville, and this is the High Five.
Me and the boys are about to do a little duck hunting.
Whack, 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 whack. Ho! Oh, shit!
It was brilliant. Jackass combined self-inflicted stunts with public pranks, often involving, again, unsuspecting people. They engaged in dangerous, absurd, frequently offensive, and undeniably compelling skits. Shopping carts launched into traffic, fake confrontations in public spaces, physical comedy and sexual comedy pushed to the brink of real harm in some instances and, uncomfortable sexuality. The show ran from 2000 to 2002, producing 3 seasons and roughly 25 episodes before expanding into a highly successful film franchise. So why did this one resonate? Because it reflected a different cultural moment. The early 2000s were defined by a kind of postmodern irreverence, a rejection of polish, a craving for authenticity, even if that authenticity was chaotic, reckless, or borderline nihilistic. It just worked. Where Candid Camera gently disrupted social norms and Cheaters exposed moral failings, Jackass obliterated the idea of decorum altogether. But here's the genius, like the 2 previous programs. The genius was economics. No elaborate sets, minimal scripting, a tight-knit crew, but the world itself was the stage. The risk wasn't financial, but it sure as hell was physical. Now, if we step back and we look at these 3 shows side by side, the similarities are striking. First, All three rely on the unpredictability of real human behavior. See, the unscripted reaction is the engine of these shows. Second, they minimize traditional production costs. No need for expensive actors or controlled environments. The authenticity of the moment replaces the need for polish. Third, they blurred the line between participant and performer. The contestants, if you can even call them that, were often unaware they're part of the show until revealed, and they sign the release form. But the differences are also just as important. Candid Camera was fundamentally optimistic, in my opinion. It assumes that people, when confronted with absurdity, will respond with humor or adaptability.
Oh, Miss Schiffner. You know, there is one other thing I may have forgotten to mention. Did I tell you that this particular plate was made by the Candid Camera show?
Thank God.
You want boring?
Yeah.
All right, because once you accept it, I can't switch it. Wait a minute, I got another one here for you. What do you think?
This is the Twilight Zone.
No, what does it say?
Smile.
Smile. Would you do that for me? You're on Candid Camera. Can you guys believe this?
And I fell for it all the way. How you doing, everybody?
That was the 60s, folks. The early 60s in particular. Cheaters was cynical. It assumes deception, betrayal, and emotional volatility. Jackass is anarchy. It assumes nothing. And it revels in that space. But each of these three reflects its era. The 1960s, a society beginning to question norms, but still grounded in a shared sense of civility. The early 2000s, a culture fascinated by exposure, confession, and the collapse of privacy. And Jackass, straddling the same era, represents the extreme edge, a rejection of structure itself, in my opinion. Now, compare all of this to something like Fear Factor, hosted by Joe Rogan.
You're each going to go for a swim in this tank here. Seems pretty easy, right? Well, not if I toss in these.
Oh my God!
Those are alligators, ladies. Real live alligators. At the bottom of this tank are 3 poles. When I say go, you will slide into the tank carefully. Head to the bottom and retrieve the poles one at a time and place them on a rack.
You're really gonna do this, Nicole?
I gotta tell you, I never watched an episode of it. Fear Factor premiered in 2001 on NBC, is also built on shock and reaction, but it's fundamentally different. You see, it's controlled. Contestants volunteer. The challenges are designed, tested, and repeatable. The risk is managed. The outcomes, while variable, exist within a defined structure. Now, you might argue, well, stuntmen or stunt coordinators had to work on Jackass. If they did, it was minimal, because I'm telling you, when I watch those episodes, and I watch them over and over in addition to the movies, those fellows are putting themselves in harm's way. And that's why it worked, for me anyways. In other words, back to Fear Factor, it's a production. Candid Camera, Cheaters, and Jackass were disruptions, in my opinion. They don't invite participants into the system. They impose a system onto unsuspecting participants. And see, this inversion is the crucial element. It creates an authenticity that traditional reality competition shows can't replicate. Because when someone chooses to participate, they're already performing, aren't they? But when they don't know they're participating or performing, that's when you get something real. And that's the thesis of this podcast. These shows were ingenious not because they were elaborate, because they were minimal. They stripped television down to its most essential element, human behavior under unexpected conditions. They were, in many ways, purest form of television. And television can be beautiful in its purest form when it's cutting edge. You don't see too much of that on the networks anymore. No script, no safety net, just a camera and a moment. And in that moment, something happens that can't be replicated, rehearsed, or predicted. That's why they endure. That's why they mattered. And that's why even in 2026, in an era of infinite contact and algorithmic precision, the simplest idea remains the most powerful. Put a camera on reality and let it surprise you. Look at the world with the lens. It will perform for you 24/7, 365, regardless of where you are in the world, day or night. And if you're listening to this as a young, aspiring television producer, here's the part nobody tells you plainly enough. If you want to break into this business, whether it's network television, streaming, or whatever comes next, don't try to outspend the system. You won't win that way. Break in with originality. Easier said than done, Jonathan. Okay. But it's all been said before, and it's true. It feels that way. But what hasn't been exhausted is perspective, execution, timing, and original voice. Show up with something fresh. And here's the practical truth. Make something that costs practically nothing. Because in 2026, you're walking around with a production studio in your pocket. It's a smartphone with a high-end camera, AI-driven editing tools that would have been unthinkable even a decade ago. You can shoot, cut, score, and distribute all from a single device. You're not waiting for permission anymore. There's no gatekeepers. The third ingredient, and the hardest, is moxie, chutzpah, the willingness to put it out there, to risk being ignored, dismissed, or misunderstood. But even that barrier has eroded. Platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram allow you to distribute your work instantly, globally for free. If it's good, truly good, it'll find an audience, and if it finds enough of an audience, it will find a buyer. That's the same underlying brilliance behind Candid Camera, Cheaters, and Jackass. They were original concepts. They were produced for pennies on the dollar. They entertained, and because of that, they were natural acquisitions, easy to pick up, easy to syndicate, high upside, low risk. If I was starting over today, having gone to film school in the early 80s, I wouldn't wait for a green light because I wouldn't need to. I'd build it myself. I'd test it in the wild. And I'd let the audience decide because the time is now. And I'm telling you, go for it. Until I see you next time, please leave behind a soft footprint. And remember, don't try these stunts at home. Class is dismissed.
And to add one more show to the lexicon of hidden camera/social experiment series, you have to consider What Would You Do?, produced by ABC News, that explores how everyday people react in awkward situations. But it poses an important question. What would you do? And just like Candid Camera, one of the best parts is the relief you see when the participants realize what's taken place isn't real. But their reactions definitely were. You've been listening to the Razors Inc. podcast with Jonathan Farini. Be sure to check out Jonathan's collection of fiction at jonathanfarini.com. Also, look for Jonathan's short story, Two Black Dresses, a touching story in which grief brings two women together. Two Black Dresses, already published in the latest editions of Borderless and The Wise Owl, is featured in the 33rd anniversary edition of CC&D magazine published by Scars Publications. Look for it at scars.tv or at jonathanfarini.com. You can also drop an email anytime to razorsincpodcast@gmail.com.
Smile.